In this lesson, we're going to learn how to compare quantities using ratios, proportions, and rates. So let me just start off by putting the title here. We can say it's comparing quantities. The objective, and it looks like it's going to rain soon. Comparing quantities. And I'm going to do this rather quickly. Let's first start off with ratios. And we'll talk about what a ratio is and how you would represent a ratio. Later on, we'll learn how to use ratios. So what a ratio is. So a ratio tells us how many times one value contains another, or is contained in another. We can write it as fractions. Well, you know what? We can write it as, and there are three ways that you can go about writing it. Let me just put each of those. Let's see, white, and then we take a pencil that is yellow. So there's three ways we can do. One is a fraction, so you will have is quantity A over quantity B, or we can say something like quantity A colon quantity B. And another way we can represent it is something like quantity A to quantity B. And let me show you what I mean with an example. We'll use a simple apples and oranges example. So for example, if we have 4 apples and 6 oranges, then the ratio of apples to oranges is given, it looks like 2 E's, given as, that's 4 over 6, 2 over 3, or we can say 2 to 3, or we can say 2 apples to every 3 oranges. Right? Those are 3 ways that we can represent that ratio. And the next one that we're going to talk about is a proportion. We just put that here. Proportion. Right? A little note on proportion. So a proportion is an equation that states that 2 ratios are equivalent. Right? So since we're talking about 2 ratios, we're going to talk about something in fraction form. So we'll say something like, so if we have something like A divided by B is equal to C over D, then A, B, C, and D are in proportion. Let's do a quick example of that as well. We can use it to solve a problem such as, let's say for example, we have 2 pencils cost $1. How much does 6 pencils cost? Well, the proportion suggests that 2 pencils for every dollar, which would mean that 6 pencils will be for every $3. How do I get that? What I am thinking in my head is this. How much do I have to multiply 6 by to get, sorry, how much do I have to multiply 2 by to get 6? I have to multiply 2 by 3 to get 6. All right, so if I have to multiply 2 by 3 to get 6, then I need to multiply the denominator by 3 as well. So then that means 1 by 3 is $3. That's one way you can go about solving it. Another way you can say is something like, so 2 over 1 is equal to 6 over x, where x is going to represent the cost of 6 pencils. So it will be in dollars. We can then cross multiply. Cross multiplying involves this multiplied by this, and we'll get something like 2 times x is equal to 1 times 6. And then we can say divide both sides by 2, and that would mean 2 times x divided by 2 equal to 1 times 6 divided by 2. This 2 will cancel off here, leave me with x. This 2 will cancel with this, leave me with 3 times 1, which is 3. So you can see right away, therefore, that a pencil, 6 pencils, I should say, costs $3. Therefore, 6 pencils cost $3. All right? And the last one that we're going to talk about is rates. Rates here. So we say rates, right? And a rate is a special ratio that compares two units, well, two quantities of different units. All right, so we'll see that, let's see here, yellow. We can say that a rate of anything that we have is quantity A with its own units divided by quantity B with its own separate different units. All right, that's why it's different colors, different units. All right, one example of this is, let's talk about a car traveling along the road. So if a car travels 150 kilometers in 3 hours, then the rate of travel is 150 kilometers, 3 hours, 50 kilometers hour, or we can write it as 50 kilometers slash hours, or we can write it as 50 km h minus 1. Right? If you don't know, this is speed. Right? So that's what we're doing when we look at the speedometer on a car. If we continue at the speed, how many kilometers we can cover in an hour. Right? So these are the comparisons that we will use. You will learn more about them as we keep moving on and we practice more questions. I'll see you tomorrow for the next, well, the last lecture of the week.